Hello and welcome back to Logan Sounds Off. Today on my podcast, I'm going to be sharing a review of After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, the classic rock album. My dad bought this for me in a charity shop. He found a pre-loved copy that's in very good condition actually, so it was a great find. It's a nice gatefold album, not 2 LP, but still cool to have a gatefold. It's on standard black vinyl. And I've been really enjoying it. Before he got me the album, I didn't know it too well. The one song that I knew very well off was Tell Me Why, my favourite song at that time. But now I've kind of changed with a couple of songs being my favourite. But that would be one of my favourite songs in the album. So I have a lot of time for this album and I loved learning about it and starting to write notes. So I'm super excited to share my thoughts with you guys. Before you do listen to this review though, please check out After the Gold Rush linked below. All the links will be there if you want to have a listen on your streaming service of preference. I'd also like to ask you, if you're a long time viewer, please subscribe, and if you enjoy this video, leave a like, and if you want to share it with some of your friends, please do. It helps a lot. And if you have any thoughts about this album, please share it down below and I'll try my best to get back to you. Thank you so much, guys. So starting off with, as I mentioned earlier, the track Tell Me Why, the opening track. How I discovered it was actually starting this album, trying to listen to it, but actually not fully getting the chance to listen to it one day. But I did get to listen to this song. And what's immediately capturing about the song is the deep and yet bright steel guitar. And Neil is very high-pitched vocals on this song. So that's really interesting as well. And it really captures you throughout the start of the song. As well as these subtle backing vocals also come in throughout the song, which again add a new range of dynamic to the song, which I really, really enjoy. And there's some beautiful lyricism in this track. I think Neil's very poetic, and it's funny, most albums are quite climactic, that they reach this certain point where there's a lot of poetic or lyrical density, but here he hits the ground running with some pretty dense lyrics. And it's an awesome acoustic song, and I would love to hear a kind of live version of this, so I'm going to be checking that out on some of his live compilations after this review. And then you have the title track, After the Gold Rush, and this is a beautiful ballad, and it has some warm piano in it, which I really, really like, and there's really just piano as well as something else which we'll get to. There's these very surreal lyrics. It's quite like a dream state, which is really, really cool. I don't know where the name After the Gold Rush comes in regarding this song, but there is something about the title that we'll get to at the end when we're discussing the overall album and some facts. And then it's kind of this strange yet perfect puzzle piece to it. There's a strange part that's at it, which is a French horn melody in it as well. The French horn plays the singing melody back after the one of the verses, and it's like, it doesn't work, but it does, and it nearly completes this puzzle, so I think that's really, really cool. And then you have Only Love Can Break Your Heart, and this has some awesome and playful piano for quite a dense song. Fantastic vocal harmonies throughout this album. There are some great vocal performances because of these different harmonies and different tones that are coming in and introduced by different singers that have different pitches and tones in regarding these songs. They can't really just have Neil and a piano or a guitar, a pianist, or him playing guitar. You need something extra, and I think the vocal harmonies really fill a gap there, which is awesome, especially with the wide variety of singers there. And there's this cool blend of guitar and piano. It works really well together, which is cool because they're my two favourite instruments on the album. So it's nice to see them work so well here at this point. And as well, it's got a kind of provocative title, honestly. Like, when you're buying this album, you're looking at the track list before you even put it onto the turntable when you're going home, and it's a really interesting title, and it really stops you in your tracks, and I really, really think that's an interesting thing. And then we move on to Southern Man, and I'm not going to really reference any of the meaning behind the lyrics of this song. I just really kind of want to focus on the music for this particular song. But really cool vocals from Neil. He's again back to this high-pitched sound, which is really, really cool. As well as this more rock tone. There's this more classic rock tone that's introduced on the song, which is really, really awesome. Again, the vocal harmonies return and are quite apparent on this song. They make quite an impact. And really warm drum sound as well that I like. Really cool drums. And it's got these subtle backing vocals that get more, where I mentioned earlier they were very apparent, they kind of fade out and come back in throughout the song, which I think is really really cool. And again, very loud cymbals, so very very intense song, and punchy piano stabs as well on the piano, which is really really cool to hear. So again, I'm not going to go into the lyricism behind the track, just want to focus on the music there and the performance. Then you have Till the Morning Comes, and this has some really playful piano. It sounds really really innocent, has some soft vocals from Neil, and it's got this light and smooth bass line, a really quiet guitar sound, which is cool because the guitar is really upfront. Obviously, Neil Young's really famous for being an incredible guitar player, whether that's really distorted guitars like on one of his live albums that came out recently, Effing Up, which I actually bought that album on vinyl. So it's an amazing album, and there'll be a link to that album down below. It's a really really strange album, but if you want to have a listen, I definitely check it out. But also Neil is great for his kind of more quiet, and where steel guitars or nylon string guitars that he plays on more acoustic sometimes as well, which I think is really really cool to see him. And then the French horn returns on this song as well with a solo and a fantastic vocal harmony that's introduced later in the song, and that's kind of a great finish to side A, kind of this finishing off part of the album. And then you have Oh Lonesome Me, which is quite a sad title, and it has a very fast start for a slow tempo song actually. It's quite somber as well, obviously, as the title tells us. And it's got these quiet backing vocals that you can not really hear too much, but are very good. And then you got this appropriate harmonica for this kind of bluesy sound they're going for. Like it's 3/4 time, so it's kind of very slow and kind of, it's a song that you nearly sway to, but it's a good song, really deep sound. And then you have really cool guitar in it as well, a really really cool guitar sound, and this melancholic piano in it as well, which is adds to this more sad tone on this song. So side B starts quite sadly, and it continues quite sadly on Don't Let It Bring You Down, which sounds like a quite positive track, but the lyrics in this are really really dark. And it's a melancholy kind of deep song. It sounds very deep, very dark lyrics though, and this simple guitar sound as well, and these very warm drums. I love the drum sound on this album, especially on vinyl. I'd recommend, if you do enjoy this album, do buy it on vinyl, you won't regret it. And it's got this subtle bass as well, that I actually haven't spoken about the bass on this album too much yet, and I don't really have many thoughts on it. It's just generally good. I don't have any too big thoughts on it. It just really shone on this particular song, and these really bright hi-hats as well, which really shine on this song as well. So then moving on from Don't Let It Bring You Down, we have Birds, and this is kind of vast vocals and this beautiful and subtle piano melody that I really really like. And then where you have your melody, you also have your chords, and these are sharp and tight piano chords, slightly kind of, it's like piano stab like. It's really really strange but cool. And then you have these impactful backing vocals, so when they come in, they're quite they really hit you hard. And then you have this metaphorical tone to it, like what is Birds really about? I don't know the true meaning of it, but it does feel like there's a lot of metaphors in that song, so I'd really recommend looking at the lyrics while you're listening to that song. It's very very sad but also quite beautiful at the same time. And then you have When You Dance, I Can Really Love. Then you got this rock distortion coming back again, which is really welcomed. Fantastic vocal harmonies in the background. But here we have a more louder bass, which I really really enjoyed. So if you're a bass player, definitely check out this song. And then this fantastic piano rhythm is that in a couple of songs, I believe Something's Gone Wrong Again by the Buzzcocks, I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges, and this song, they have this piano rhythm where it's the same note played for quavers, eight notes. It doesn't matter what note it is. It's just these 8 notes, just this one key being pressed as nearly this rhythmic. And obviously, like, the piano is a percussive instrument, but you don't really see it in that way at the moment in modern music. So it's really really cool to explore that in other albums like this, and especially the Stooges and the Buzzcocks. I know the Buzzcocks used to listen to a bit of the Stooges, so you can really hear that influence. So I'm wondering where Neil Young got that kind of idea to include this. Now, he did play with Crazy Horse on this record, so I'm curious to see whether it was Crazy Horse who came up with the idea, because like the Stooges and maybe not so the Buzzcocks, but the Stooges and Neil Young were around at the same time, so there was definitely there may have been influences. Maybe they never crossed paths. I doubt they would have like known each other too well, because they were quite different. Even though they were both rock, the subgenres are quite vast in rock music, as many rock fans know. So I'd be curious to see more about that if I ever get the chance to speak to Neil Young, which I would love to someday, or one of the Stooges. I would love to see kind of what was inspiring that, just as kind of a fan based question. And then I have I Believe in You, and this is melancholic vocals that, again, there's a lot of melancholic themes in this album, but I think at the end of the day, it's kind of not the melancholic side that we're meant to focus on. It's meant to focus on the hope that's found in it, and I think that happiness is more satisfactory to us than just like a jar of happy songs. It can nearly come across as ironic. Where there's something that's sad, it makes you appreciate the things in your life, and also appreciates you the good things and bad things. And it has then the harmony in the background, the vocal harmony is also very, very sad, and it's got this plucky bass line in this. It's a lot more plucky than smooth, and we had a smooth bass line actually on I believe it was Oh Lonesome Mere, Don't Let It Bring You Down. But yeah, we had that on one of the earlier tracks, kind of a smooth tone. So now we have a plucky bass. And then there's this quiet ride sound, which is really, really cool. As I mentioned earlier, I like to listen to the drums on this album. I think they're really, really good. And then you've got these high-pitched vocals on this particular song. Neil really has a great vocal range, and I love the way that he explores that and likes to make a statement when he's singing. I think that's really, really important. And then this subtle piano as well, which is quite interesting because the piano is usually very upfront and usually the main instrument in a lot of these songs, and really the backbone. Like on the next song, Crippled Creek Ferry, which is the closing track. And you've got the group vocals. Instead of nearly backing vocals, it's kind of group vocals. They're all singing together. There's very bassy tone then for the end, so it's cool to see the bass make a great return here. There's a cool swing to the drums, and it's very catchy, this song. I was singing it afterwards for about an hour or maybe 2 hours after taking my notes down on this song, and it was in the evening, so I was like stuck in my head going, well, like trying to go to sleep and reading and whatever. So that was really, really funny. And then it had quiet guitar, and then the piano again, where we're saying about it being up front, it kind of ties everything together on this song. And overall, it's a really catchy, great finale that I really, really enjoyed. So with my thoughts kind of summarized in maybe 2 quick minutes, I really, really enjoyed this album. I'm not sure if I have any thoughts about the album cover. If I'm being honest, I don't really understand it. I would have preferred they had maybe a box. Like, I know this is on a camera, but even without it being on a camera, and even if I have my glasses on, I cannot read. I have to kind of squint to look at some of the tracks on it. But that's really a minor detail. I mean, I'm not looking at the outside vinyl, the outside of the vinyl. I'm looking what's inside. And it's a really, really great sounding album. I think Neil Young performed really well. And I have listened to other albums by Neil Young. As I mentioned, that live album, Effing Up, and Harvest, obviously, that classic record. And I just find that this album really is a beautiful record. And I feel like I'm going to return back to this a lot. So I would strongly recommend you to listen to this album. Get ready though, it's quite an emotional package. It's very, very sad, but once you really get into it and listen to that mellow side and explore the mellow side of it, you really start to get into the happy side of this album. Like on the playful moments, like on Crippled Creek Ferry, or Till the Morning Comes, or really exploring the depth of Neil Young's amazing songwriting on songs like Tell Me Why. So overall, Neil Young and Crazy Horse did a really, really good job on this album. It's really straight, amazing songs. There's no real duds or fillers on this album at all. It's very, very good. So with that being in mind, I can't really not rate it anything lower than a 5 stars. I do think this deserves it as a classic record, so I would definitely recommend you check it out. And it's truly a fantastic album. So yeah, Check out After the Gold Rush by Neil Young, linked down below. Please subscribe, and if you like this review, please leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment if you have any thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of Logan Sounds Off. Goodbye.